Most intelligence failures do not happen because someone refused to talk. They happen because someone talked too much. Not under pressure, not under threat, not even knowingly. They spoke during a normal conversation, in a normal place, with nothing that looked like an interrogation. And the consequences were real. Operations exposed, networks compromised, people arrested. The most effective intelligence questions are never asked. Because the moment a person realizes a question is dangerous, they stop answering honestly. Stories tighten, details disappear, truth becomes managed. Intelligence services learned that if they wanted unfiltered information, they could not rely on confrontation. They had to talk. This process is called elicitation. Elicitation is the collection of information through conversation without the subject realizing information is being collected. It does not look dramatic. It does not feel coercive. And that is exactly why it works. Tonight we examine how elicitation works, why it succeeds where direct questioning fails, and how small disclosures become usable intelligence. Direct questioning creates a paradox. The clearer the question, the stronger the defense. The instant someone senses that a conversation has stakes, they begin to manage the impression they create. They calculate risk in real time. What is safe, what is uncertain, what could be misinterpreted, and what could be used against them. Even an innocent person becomes careful because caution is a survival instinct. This is why interrogation can produce confident answers that are wrong and vague answers that are true. Under pressure, people choose certainty over accuracy and simplicity over detail. They shorten the story. They remove names. They avoid dates. They replace specifics with generalities. And if the subject is trained or simply anxious, they may begin to perform a version of themselves that is designed to be harmless. Elicitation avoids this by never triggering the psychological alarm that says, "You are being tested." Instead of pushing, it lets the subject continue speaking in their normal social mode. That is where people are most predictable and most vulnerable to their own habits. Elicitation is not a magic trick, and it is not mind control. It is a disciplined way of shaping conversation so that the subject volunteers details while believing they are simply talking. Interrogation tries to overcome resistance. Elicitation tries to prevent resistance from forming. The subject is not supposed to feel questioned. If they do, the method collapses into ordinary questioning, and the information quality drops immediately. Elicitation thrives in normal environments: offices, receptions, conferences, transit, waiting rooms, casual social settings, and routine professional exchanges. It also offers deniability. There is no interview to record, no formal statement to dispute, and no obvious point where pressure was applied. From the outside, nothing happened. From the inside, a picture began to form. The first mechanism works because people hate leaving errors uncorrected. It is called assumed knowledge. Instead of asking for a fact, the conversation treats the fact as already known and invites the subject to refine it. A direct question feels like extraction. An assumption feels like normal conversation. When the assumption is slightly wrong, the subject experiences a small internal pressure to fix it, to restore accuracy, and to appear competent. They correct dates, clarify roles, and fill gaps. In doing so, they provide structure: who did what, when it happened, and what the sequence looked like. Assumed knowledge is powerful because it makes the subject feel like they are protecting the truth, not giving something away. The second mechanism works because humans calibrate themselves to the group. It is called false consensus. The conversation frames a belief or detail as widely accepted, as something everyone already knows, everyone already agrees on, or everyone in the room already assumes. The subject then faces a subtle choice: align or correct. Alignment can reveal priorities, loyalties, and attitudes. Correction can reveal the precise point where the subject believes the truth sits. Even a simple response like, "Actually, it happened later," or "No, that was handled by a different team," can carry operational value when combined with other fragments. False consensus works because it makes disagreement feel like helpfulness, not disclosure. The third mechanism works because identity matters more than secrecy. It is called ego leverage. People want to be seen as competent, experienced, informed, and respected. When someone treats the subject as an authority, the subject often performs that identity by explaining, clarifying, and demonstrating knowledge. They may offer context that was not requested, because context proves expertise. They may correct minor details, because correctness proves competence. They may share inside language, acronyms, or procedural assumptions, because shared jargon signals belonging. Ego leverage is not crude flattery. It is a careful invitation to talk in a way that maintains status. The risk is that the subject keeps speaking to preserve the identity they have just displayed, even when the safest move would be to stop. The fourth mechanism works because danger is easier to miss in small steps. It is called incremental disclosure. A subject who would reject a direct question may still answer a series of small, harmless prompts spread over time. Each detail feels safe in isolation: a city, a time frame, a vague description of a process, a casual mention of who was present. But the details accumulate. A pattern appears. And the pattern can be operationally meaningful even if no single sentence sounds classified. Incremental disclosure is the difference between a secret and the map to a secret. The fifth mechanism works because routine feels safe. It is called conversational normalization. Sensitive topics are approached indirectly, then held in place long enough that they stop feeling sensitive. When a subject talks about their world as if it is ordinary, their guard drops, and they speak in shorthand they use with insiders. Normalization creates a rhythm: mention, return, mention again, and eventually the topic becomes part of the background. At that point, a detail that would have felt risky at minute 1 can slip out at minute 8, because the subject no longer feels watched. One of the most dangerous myths is that intelligence requires a single decisive admission. In reality, collection often looks like fragments. A date here, a name there, a location mentioned in passing. By themselves, fragments seem meaningless. But intelligence work is the craft of combination. A single fragment can also reveal what the subject believes is normal and what they believe must never be said aloud. A fragment can confirm another fragment, or narrow a hypothesis, or validate a rumor, or expose a contradiction. A subject may believe they revealed nothing because they never stated the main secret. But the collector does not need the main secret if the fragments point to it with high probability. Elicitation is difficult to notice because it borrows the surface features of normal social life. It uses politeness, curiosity, shared context, and the small rituals of conversation that people rarely question. In most settings, refusing to answer a harmless-sounding question feels rude, paranoid, or socially awkward. That discomfort is part of the mechanism, even when no one intends harm. The subject often believes they are choosing openness, not being guided toward it. And because the exchange looks ordinary, it leaves little behind. No transcript, no obvious demand, no moment that can be pointed to later as the point of extraction. This is why elicitation can be effective even against people who think of themselves as careful. Carefulness is usually a response to visible threat. Elicitation succeeds by making threat invisible. Consider a subject who never answered a single direct question. No interview, no interrogation, no formal exchange. Yet over several casual interactions, their operational role became clear. The collector did not ask for a mission name, a schedule, or a target list. Instead, the collector listened for habits. When the subject corrected an assumption about timing, it revealed a cadence. When the subject used an acronym without explanation, it revealed an internal culture. When the subject complained about a delay, it revealed a dependency. None of it sounded like a confession. But by the end, the subject's place in the system was legible: what they touched, who they coordinated with, and where their access likely ended. No threats were made. No demands issued. No pressure applied. Only conversation. Small corrections, minor clarifications, routine remarks. Each harmless alone. Together, a complete picture. All of these mechanisms succeed for one reason. People do not guard information. They guard intent. If intent feels hostile, defenses rise. If intent feels neutral or friendly, defenses fall. Conversation also increases cognitive load. Maintaining secrecy while sustaining normal interaction is mentally expensive. Under load, the mind prioritizes flow over security, and small details leak. People also seek coherence. If something feels incomplete, they complete it. Not to reveal secrets, but to restore order. And once disclosure begins, consistency takes over. People continue because stopping would contradict the identity they have just performed. Another misconception is that the collector is looking for a dramatic secret, a single sentence that changes everything. Often the collector is looking for constraints: what cannot be true, what is unlikely, what is consistent, and what is missing. A minor detail can eliminate dozens of possibilities. A casual confirmation can turn a rumor into something actionable. And a small contradiction can reveal that a cover story exists at all. In this sense, elicitation is less like theft and more like measurement. It measures the boundaries of the subject's world, what they know, what they assume, what they avoid, and what they treat as normal. That measurement is useful even when the subject never realizes a measurement occurred. Elicitation is not a relic of the past. It operates quietly in diplomacy, corporate intelligence, and online spaces where identity can be performed without accountability. Wherever conversation exists, information moves. Sometimes, the collector is trained. Sometimes, the collector is simply curious. The result can be the same. Fragments that should have remained private become shared, then repeated, then used. For most people, the danger is not an intelligence officer in a dark suit. The danger is that information is cumulative. A harmless detail shared today can become meaningful when paired with someone else's harmless detail tomorrow. Elicitation thrives in networks, workplaces, online communities, professional circles, and social environments where trust is assumed by default. And once a detail leaves your control, it rarely returns. It can be repeated, misinterpreted, exaggerated, or combined with other fragments until it becomes something you never intended to create. The method is quiet, but the downstream effects can be loud. Elicitation is not unstoppable. Its greatest weakness is attention. When people slow down and ask themselves why a topic is being raised, the spell breaks and the conversation changes shape. Organizations try to reduce accidental disclosure through compartmentation, need-to-know practices, and training that emphasizes context rather than paranoia. Individually, the simplest protection is humility, recognizing that small details can matter and that certainty about what is harmless is often misplaced. In Episode 1, we examined how environment can remove the will to resist. In Episode 2, the method is quieter. Information is taken because resistance never forms. The most effective interrogations do not feel like interrogations at all. They feel like conversation. This file was never meant to be noticed. This was Shadow Archives.